All right, Brent Porcio, we got Kevin Schultz here today and Stephen Godani at the @TopVelocity hashtag pitching tips show. So if you haven't heard already, go to Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and ask your question at TopVelocity or Stephen Godani, hashtag pitching tips, and we're gonna answer it on the show. So what question we got today?
Jared Morris asks, is throwing naturally at high velocities more natural strength or more natural mechanics?
Good question, Jared. I like to come from the perspective of that because I get that question a lot at camps of those guys that want to know, well, you know, those who don't have to go to velocity camps or don't have to do this kind of intense training because they already throw 90, you know, how do those guys naturally get that ability? And, you know, I don't have that ability, or I don't have that kind of velocity. And so the way I look at it is you know, when we're born, we have our DNA, our genetics is going to produce so much fast twitch muscle fiber. It's going to produce so much height, so much, you know, a range of body weight that's going to fit our bone structure. And in all that together really kind of makes up the athlete, obviously. But some people have more fast twitch muscle fiber. Obviously, like they have more height, they gain more size, right, than others, and therefore they gain an advantage from that. So them just going through the ranks of baseball and, you know, falling into a good routine, getting with the coach to give them a basic set of pitching mechanics, maybe just watching enough baseball, enough video of other guys at a high level doing it, they pick up a good set of pitching mechanics. And they pitch and they pitch and they pitch, and they find progression. They find an easy progression all the way up the ranks into say the highest level. Obviously, that's a small percentage of the population. So if you're not in that percentage, or if you are in that percentage, it's kudos to you. But if you're not in that percentage, you do have to come into a program like we do here, and you have to take what you've been given and you have to try to enhance it. And that's the performance enhancement aspects of what we do. You have to hypertrophy what fast twitch muscle fiber you have to try to match that, you know, that natural fast twitch, or more of that fast twitch muscle fiber that some of these guys have been gifted with, that you're competing with. And then that's what we're doing here, where you're giving the guys that naturally aren't able to play at that level the ability to enhance and get to that level. And we figured that out, obviously, because all of us here are a testimonial to these programs, have had success doing that, taking the genetic ability we had, we're able to enhance it by, you know, hypertrophying fast twitch muscle fiber, improving our mobility issues, working on our motor control and mechanics, and really trying to overcome the odds or overcome the averages that we were put into. Because I always tell guys, I mean, I was an average, I was a mid-80s guy. I had to make myself a low to mid-90s guy. But what's your answer to this, Kevin?
I think that natural mechanics are more of a picture of our ability to produce power and strength. So when you're looking for the mechanics, if you don't have the power and the strength, you're never going to see what you want. And that's kind of like what we do here, is if you don't possess that power and you're not seeing it mechanically, there's a good chance that just tweaking your mechanics are never going to work. You're going to have to enhance your power, your strength, to get your mechanics to look like you want them to. So I think that the guys that naturally have good mechanics also naturally have that good power that leads them into that mechanics. Some guys have more power and less mobility, so that's why their mechanics are like they are. Or there's guys with less power and more mobility, and they're able to produce the mechanics. So,
yeah, cool. What about you, Steve?
Yeah, I think it's kind of all based off of like your genetics and size and stuff like that. But like Brent's saying, that we can influence it through training and stuff. But like you take guys like Tim Lincecum, like 5'10" guy. The reason that he could throw so hard was he was naturally just blessed with a lot of strength, a lot of speed, a lot of athletic ability, probably a lot of fast twitch muscle fiber. There was an article that I read that in training camp, when he was throwing like touching 100 miles per hour, back when he could do that, I missed that Tim Lincecum, but yeah, they said that he, of all the agility tests, the sprinting, the vertical jump, the broad jump, in spring training, he beat everybody in camp. Yeah. Just naturally, just a freak athlete, highest vertical jump, all that stuff. So it's like, that's one way. I think that his power, his just natural power, really probably helped influence his mechanics, because he can power himself through all those motions, and he had really good 3x mechanics that probably helped him a lot with his velocity. But then you see guys that can just get away with murder, who are, you know, can be kind of bigger guys that like less mobility, less power, but since their size, they're bigger, they're taller, they can kind of start throwing harder from that. So that's where I kind of think natural strength can influence that.
And you got to be careful is, you know, we pick idols in the game to help motivate us to achieve our goals and reach our potential, right? But don't pick idols of guys like Steven saying they get away with murder, guys that are just really big guys that have average mechanics, and because they're so big and you know, explosive and powerful for their abnormal size, they can have average mechanics and produce a lot of ball speed. You know, don't mimic those guys or don't idolize those guys if you're not the same size. That's why I always say, pick a guy you're the same size as, and then model his mechanics. But at the same time too, don't just model his mechanics. Find out how fast he runs. Find out how much he can, you know, what kind of strength he has, what kind of vertical jump he has. Find out as much anthropometrics, you know, mobility that he possesses and performance movements that he possesses, and then also try to mimic and create that, and then that's how you will more than likely become him. And that's really what we do with 3X pitching. You know, we break it down from anthropometrics, performance measurements, all the way into the biomechanics, and we take one guy, a guy that you feel is a good version of, could be a good version of yourself, and we measure all that out, and then we go at every aspect of it, not just the mechanics. We go at every aspect of it, and that's a better chance that you can actually enhance yourself to his level. All right, so that was a good question. If you have any questions, go to Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and at TopVelocity. Ask your question, hashtag pitching tips, and we're going to answer it on the next show. So thanks for watching.
Play hard, work hard, play hard, work hard, play hard, work hard, play hard.